qualifying. So pole position gets an additional 3 points, 2 points for second and a point for third place in qualifying. So qualifying, well, it always was important because this is such a competitive series, but it's even more important now because there are points to be awarded in qualifying as well as in the race. So drivers just starting to wind it up at the moment. That's Joel Sturm, a 1:35.672. That is not a representative time, so we will be looking for our first hot lap of this session very soon. It looks like Joel Sturm is the first to really turn the wick up in that Allied Racing Porsche.
Yes, looks like he is just starting to embed the Pirellis and get himself up to pace. You do often see this kind of feeling out process at the beginning of the session. That's certainly what we've got at the moment, but it seems as though Joel Sturm may be the first to truly push the boat out here and start to give us something of a representative time. I'm sure there'll still be a long way to go. I think the final 10 minutes of this session are going to be fast, frenetic and fraught at the top of the timing screen, but perhaps this will be a first indicator of what to expect today from the 22 Allied Racing Porsche.
It is a short, sharp qualifying session, just 20 minutes, which is very short by today's standards in qualifying. But it's interesting because there still is an element of killing time and just waiting and waiting. And then, as you say, suddenly in the last few minutes, the track starts to get crowded. In fact, it's pretty crowded here on the pit straight already. You can see the Lamborghini in the background weaving to get heat into the tyres. But Joel Sturm is the first driver to post a time 1:28.967, so still a good couple of seconds off what we would be expecting at the moment. So Joel Sturm currently at the top of the timing sheets. Jack Aitken second with a 1:45. I think he won't be too happy with that. But as we say, all yet to turn the wick off. Interesting that Sturm flashing the lights there. Is that a back mark in front of him, or who knows? So he's still continuing on his way. Different strategies being adopted by different teams. Some going out and just building the pace and getting quicker and quicker. Others that will just kind of come out at the end and give it all they've got.
Yes, I think by and large everyone is just scrubbing in sets of tyres and such right now. Sturm being kind of the exception to that rule right now. Just coming up on Nicholas Cruton in the number 10 Schubert BMW now, who I think is rather going to stifle this lap here at the final chicane. And, well, I'm sure Sturm won't be best pleased with that one. Hopefully he didn't lose too much time. Comes towards the final corner now. Might still end up being an improvement on his 1:28.9 before. We certainly expect the fastest time at the end of this session to be a lot quicker than that. Sturm across the line, a 1:27.757. So again, he is on flying laps, but suggests that there is still some pace to come out of both car, driver, and of course the rest of the field.
So we're approaching the halfway session of this qualifying period already. One team that's not joining us on the grid is the ADAC Racing Porsche, so we haven't got them with us this weekend. Another change of ownership is the number 71 car, T3 Motorsport, who have been in various forms of strife over the last few months. It's now become Paul Motorsport, and it is Max Paul's father, Tobias Paul, who now takes over the running of the number 71 Lamborghini Huracan. Of course, that's also Marco Mapelli in the seat of that car. So you'll see Paul Motorsport instead of T3 Motorsport, but apart from that, it's everything very much as you were. So we're still focusing very much on Joel Sturm because he's the only one who's really turning the heat up at the moment, using a lot of the track. And, well, we saw them in previous years, the Vidal chicane there, jumping across. That, of course, is turns 9 and 10. And somebody tell them there's a turn there because just straight line it, why don't you? Get all four wheels off the ground at the same time. I'm not sure it's the quickest way around there with that much air being gained, but it's certainly very entertaining for the rest of us. Just goes to show how strong those Porsches are, really, doesn't it?
Oh yes, they're built from Stern stuff at Porsche. There's a reason.
Sturm stuff. Ah,
terrible.
Thank you for that. Oh, here we go. Let's have another look at this. Right, ladies and gentlemen, in the air. Yes, he did get all four off the ground at the same time on the first bump. Wonderful stuff in terms of entertainment. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that is the quickest way around there. And the timing screens would back that up, although he is still at the top. And unless some of these other drivers turn the wick up, it is going to be Joel Sturm at the front for the race. But say we've still got an awful lot to come in the next 9.5 minutes. For the record, Fabian Schiller has put a time of 1:28.498 into second place. Ain-Chan Guven, another one of the Porsches, is 1:28.815 in third. Niklas Kruten in the BMW in fourth with a 1:31.216. This is the view from the perspective of Ain-Chan Guven, looking to improve on that 1:28. Looking at the timing screens, and he was purple in sector 3 on his last lap, but he's still looking to find a little bit more pace, and I think there is a lot more to come from this track. And this is the view from the Schubert Motorsport BMW in the hands of Niklas Kruten. He comes round to complete this lap and he crosses the line. And let's have a look and see where Kruten, he doesn't improve. He stays down in 5th place.
He was teeing himself up there on the final corner for a good run out of the turn, down the front straight here at the Nürburgring sprint circuit. So I think he'll be one to keep an eye on. Looked like he had intentions of trying to move up the order. Here comes Ain-Chan Guven then across the line now in the 91. Team Hughes Porsche across the line. It's a 1:27.554, so half a second off of fellow Porsche runner Joel Sturm at the moment, but Guven moves himself up to second place. I tell you, there's a motorsporting old head somewhere in this paddock who's watching this right now and screaming at them saying, but what if you get a red flag?
Yes,
what happens then?
Indeed.
You spend over half the session getting ready, and then suddenly it's all for nothing. I've seen it happen a few times before, I must say, in qualifying sessions. But I think now the time for getting ready for fast laps is over. I think now we are going to start to see some quicker times come in. Spengler and Sturm about to set quick laps.
Yes, Sturm is the one who's, well, he's been at the top for the entire session so far, and he's looking to improve. He's done exactly that. The first into the 1:26s, very well into the 1:26s, almost into the 25s. 26.142 for Joel Sturm. Guven in second, well, at least he was, because Niklas Kruten, you said he was winding himself up for a lap. That's exactly what he's done, at 1:26.693. That's immediately eclipsed by Jack Aitken in the Lamborghini. Aitken looking to repeat that win that he took Zandvoort last time out, but Aitken immediately is moved down to P3 because Fabian Schiller pops up into second place. We said it was going to be a fairly volatile timesheet towards the end of this session. That's exactly what is happening, because it's changing all the time. Raffaele Martiello, personal bests in sector 1 and 2. Martiello now popping up into third place.
Oh, I thought he was just about going to get onto the provisional front row, but he was just over 100th of a second off of it there. Raffaele Martiello into third place. He's run it wide there at the first corner in trying to get a car around the corner. You saw there just fighting it, trying to get the traction down, trying to ease out of the steering as he went uphill towards turn 2. Couldn't quite get it done. I suggest that's probably hampered his first sector time. It is a very long first sector here. It's actually after the cut through at turn 5. The sprint circuit, of course, we've got that extra, not quite hairpin at turn 5 that cuts the Grand Prix circuit in half, and the first sector runs right until there. So you've got one 40-second first sector and then two 20-second second and third sectors. So the first sector is often very, very telling for a driver's lap.
And the quickest man in that first sector is Ain-Chan Guven, but he hasn't tied it together for the remainders of the laps, but he's looking, the remainder of that lap, but he's looking to change that now. You see he's gone purple in sector 1, purple in sector 2. Surely this is going to be a fastest time. It takes him a while up to second, so the final sector, he lost an awful lot of time. Ain-Chan Guven into P2. It's Fabian Schiller who jumps to the top. in the Drago Racing Team Zevio Mercedes. Now, that is exactly what you were saying, Adam. You can build it all up to the end of this session, and fortunately, Mick Wiesofer has managed to gather it all up. The ground is very dry. He's not got bogged down, so he's able to rejoin. But let's have a look, see what happened. He's just lost it all on his own. He's got out onto the AstroTurf. He slid back across the track. A little bit of temporary advertising for motorsport.com. Check them out. And the board is now gone, and Mick Wiesofer, well, he's got a lot of work to do there. Those tyres are going to be flat spotted, but so easy in the closing stages of a session. A yellow flag can come out, and the drivers have built up for the whole session. Suddenly, they have to back out of it, and that time is wasted.
Of course, yes, they can, you know, bolt on another set of tyres or so if they wish, but they really don't want to. It's so tightly controlled here in the ADAC GT Masters paddock, the allocation of tyres and how you can use them. If you do something like that on a flying lap after spending the first 15 minutes just kind of shadow boxing with your car, that can cause all manner of issues. Wiesofer currently down in 18th fastest in the 14 Emil Frey Lamborghini. Hopefully, he hasn't cost himself the opportunity to move further up the order. Here comes Raffaele Martiello, though, around the final corner. He's purple in the middle sector. Is it good enough to go top? Yes, it is.
Wow.
125.575 for Martiello. Puts himself just about 1 3/4 tenths clear of Schiller.
So it's two Mercedes leading the way. You talked about tyre allocation. The teams are allowed 3 new sets per weekend for each car, but that has to cover free practice, qualifying and races. They're allowed a couple of old sets for free practice as well, but the tyre allocation, as you already mentioned, is very limited. Now, you can see Ezequiel Perez-Campank, personal bests, currently in 15th place. He has Maxi Goertz as his co-pilot for this weekend. Great to have Maxi Goertz back on the grid. 10th position is the best that he can manage in that lap, which is a 126.385. That's about 8 tenths off the lead. Fabian Schiller looking to respond to that lap from Raffaele Martiello, best of anybody in sector 2. So here he comes to cross the line, but he doesn't improve. Not a great sector 3, a bit of an error maybe in that final sector, but he is remaining in 2nd place. Guven in 3rd, but this is Guven trying to improve. He's not had a great sector 1, so Ayhancan Guven coming out across the line. He remains in 3rd place. So with a little over 2 minutes of this session remaining, it's Raffaele Martiello leading the way at 125.575. ahead of Fabian Schiller, Ayhancan Guven and Patrick Niederhauser, who's popped up in 4th place. And then Jack Aitken, great driver, Elias Seppänen in 6th place, ahead of Joel Sturm, who led the timesheets for so long. Jan Marszałkowski and Niklas Kruten in 9th place. An interesting message on our timing screens that Kruten is under investigation for alleged blocking and has been reported to the stewards of the meeting. So there might be some more news on the number 10 Schubert Motorsport BMW before this day is through. We look again at that looked like Niederhauser bumping over the chicane. A minute and a half left of this session. Raffaele Martiello leading the way.
Good to see, certainly good to see if you're Albert Costa Balboa, that Jack Aitken is currently as far up the order as 6th place, of course, courtesy of their successes last time. They come into this race with 20 kilos of handicap ballast weight. So to be up on the first 3 rows of the grid with a car that's 20 kilos heavier in a series that is so well BOP'd, 20 kilos can send you a long way down the order, but Aitken's doing well.
Yes, although the weight penalty is not put on until the race. Did you know?
Sorry, of course,
no.
yes.
So
mixing the series.
No, but he will have that in the race. So it's so important that he is that high up, because that weight penalty, which is 20 kilos, is going to be lumped on him for the race, and that is the success ballast. Which, you know, well, if you will win races, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. See, what you don't want as well is obviously when you've got that ballast on you, that can make the car a lot more difficult to contend with in terms of things like managing tyre life across the 60-minute race. You really don't want to burn out the tyres. And oh yes,
that's an old friend. That's Norbert Hauger, isn't it?
It is. I'm looking on. So. Yes. Gosh, I'm suddenly back in 2006.
Yes, my time machine. It works. Look at the clock. 5 seconds left of this session. Anyone who's on a lap is able to complete it. Suddenly, all those drivers that left it to the end have got a lot of work to do, because now the checkered flag is out. Any driver who is on a lap is able to complete it. It's Martiello, 125.544. So let's have a look. Pretty well, in fact, every car is out on track at the moment as they cross the line. Jack Aitken picks up the checkered flag, so 6 is the highest he is going to make today. The rest of the cars crossing the line. It doesn't look like anybody is going to be quicker than Martiello. It looks like the number 48 car, well, we said this was going to be a potent car this weekend. The man-filter team Landgraf Mercedes, Raffaele Martiello, and you saw the Paul car there as well. The number 71 of Max Paul, currently in 9th place. That's pretty good in the Lamborghini for Paul Motorsport. But Martiello currently quickest, and confirmed as quickest. It will be Raffaele Martiello, who starts on pole position for race 7 of the season. The first of 2 races this weekend at the Nürburgring. Fabian Schiller will line up second ahead of Ayhan Guven, Elias Seppänen. Great job putting that on the second row. So that's 2 of the man-filter team Landgraf Mercedes on the front 2 rows, and then Patrick Niederhauser, Jack Aitken, Joel Stern, Mick Wieshofer, Max Paul and Jan Marszałkowski rounding out the top 10.
That's all looking very interesting then, isn't it? We've got a multitude of members on the front 2 rows of the grid. You've got some championship favourites such as Martiello and Guven up there at the top end of the order as well. I think that's shaped up rather nicely all in all.
It really has. Martiello looking very cool and still buzzing from his success at the Spa 24. He wanders back to the garage. It's like, yeah, it was easy, mate. That really was. And there's Fabian Schiller. He'll be delighted with that qualifying session, but keep an eye on the driver in 3rd place when the race comes. Ayhan Guven and Christian Engelhardt. Every race, they are consistently picking up points, and they are always there, which is why they are tying at the top of the points championship. Under the shadow of Nürburgring Castle, we are here. Qualifying 1 of the weekend completed. There is your classification and confirmation. Raffaele Martiello, 125.544 ahead of Fabian Schiller, Ayhan Guven, Elias Seppänen, Patrick Niederhauser, Jack Aitken, Joel Sturm and Mick Wieshofer. And the first 18 cars on the grid separated by less than a second. That's how competitive this series is. There is 9 through to 16. Max Paul, Jan Marszałkowski, then Frank Pereira, Nicholas Kruter, Nicky Katzberg, Tim Zimmerman, Ezequiel Perez-Campagne, and Yusuf Vega. Now, he's got a lot of work to do there if he wants to keep his position at the top of the championship. Kim Louis Schramm, Thierry Vermeulen, after such a successful Zandvoort, a bit of a butt down to earth in 18th ahead of Salman Avego. Then Florian Spengler and Simon Riker bringing up the rear of the pack. The grid is formed for race 7 of the 14-race season in the ADAC GT Masters. Fighting for the title of German GT champion. There is the updated points after qualifying. It's Engelhardt and Guven who now pull clear ahead of Yusuf Vega and Niklas Kruter. But keep an eye on the driver who is in 4th place. Raffaele Martiello means business. He is here. And he has come to the Nürburgring with all guns blazing, along with new teammate for this event, Mauro Engel. He will be a force to be reckoned with. Will he take the top step of the podium here this afternoon in this race? The driver who starts 3rd is Ayhan Guven for Team U Sportwagen Technique in the Porsche. The driver who will start in 2nd place, Fabian Schiller in the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes AMG. And of course, Fabian is sharing with Jules Gounon. That will be a very potent combination as well. But the man who starts on pole position for man-filter Team Landgraf in the Mercedes AMG GT3, it's Raffaele Martiello. So Martiello versus Schiller into the first corner here this afternoon for race 7. Join us then. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye.